Thank you all for being here. I'll quickly introduce myself and then Jillian will introduce herself. My name is Anna Regan. I use she, her pronouns, and I have been with A Thousand Summers for only about 9 months now, but my background is primarily in education and other youth nonprofits. And I also attended summer camp for 10 years as a camper and counselor. So I'm very familiar with the camp world. It's the single most impactful thing that I probably ever did. And so I'm really glad to be here and to be, talking about camp, even though it's a little bit far away. Go ahead, Jillian.
I'm Jillian Nyland. I'm the program director at A Thousand Summers, and I get the pleasure of working with many of you all and all of your fabulous campers, as well as our representatives from all of our associate camps, which you'll learn more about in a little bit. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can jump right in. So our training today will be about an hour long. We'll have a couple of things that I want to go over, and then at the end, we'll have some optional time to stay on. So today we'll talk about just overview of programs, overview of A Thousand Summers. Some of you already know it by heart, and that's okay. We'll also talk about the specific volunteer roles because we actually have two different roles that are here in this Zoom today. We'll talk about the program timeline for this year and where you all come in with your responsibilities. We'll talk about the supports that Jillian and I will give you throughout the year. We'll get some tips and tricks from returners, and then again, some extra time to stay on if you're having any technical difficulties with any forms, that sort of thing, or just any questions. We'll stay on for the last couple of minutes. All right, so I want to begin by giving you a big picture overview of what we can now call A Thousand Summers. I want you to know a little bit about how our camps work, how volunteers fit in with our programs. So we were founded in 1989. We were originally called the John Austin Cheeley Foundation, which was originally just to send kids to Cheeley, which is one of our partner camps in Colorado. And that has expanded over the past 30 plus years to be a Colorado-based nonprofit that is focused on not just camperships or scholarships, but also youth development. So we do offer camperships, which is financial assistance to ensure that campers are able to attend camp. But we also provide a couple different programs that are designed to support our campers in their personal growth, leadership development, etc. So our mission goes beyond just sending kids to camp. We really aim to equip them with tools and skills and experiences so that they can thrive at summer camp and years past. So I want to tell you about our programs. So at A Thousand Summers, we offer a range of programs, all of which begin with the Campership program, which is circled there at the top in yellow. The Campership program is really our biggest program. It's what we started with. It is a really awesome way to support campers year after year. So one thing that we're able to do with our camperships is to send kids to camp for as long as they qualify for summer camp. So many of our campers go year after year after year with our scholarships. So as our campers get older, a lot of them do transition into some of our newer programs. So I'll briefly talk about our outdoor leadership and fellowship program. Those are for older campers. If you're on this call, it doesn't really apply to you, but I do want you to know what your campers might be working towards even next year. So our outdoor leadership program is designed for the campers who have aged out of camp. So they may be 16, 17, depends on the camp. And they want to still stay connected, but they aren't able to be a counselor until the next year. So some camps have sort of like a gap year that they need to take in between being a camper and a counselor. And so this is for campers who still want to be involved but can't attend camp that summer. So what we do is a really awesome program in the wilderness in Utah, in a really beautiful place where they gain leadership skills, they do a lot of training, they learn things that will help them to be a camp counselor for the next summer. So that is something that campers are able to do once they're a little bit older. And for the next year, for those who are selected by their camp to serve as counselors, campers are able, well, now counselors, are able to be in our fellowship program. So that's on the far right. The fellowship is designed to basically give them additional leadership training and also to provide a stipend to campers who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford being a counselor. We know that camps tend to not pay super well in the summer, and that is a big barrier for folks to be able to return as counselors as much as they want to. So we offer again, leadership training as well as a stipend to help them to continue their journey of being a counselor. So as you can see, this is the pathway that our campers tend to flow through. And as volunteers, you all will primarily focus on the Campership program. So this program connects our campers with our partner summer camps, and we offer both partial and full scholarships based on the family's income eligibility. If a camper receives a full scholarship, called a full campership, they get not only tuition to the camp, but also camp store deposits, transportation assistance, equipment reimbursement. We cover some of their camp trips. So some of our camps go off and do like a 10-day canoeing thing. We would cover that sort of thing. So we have kind of a pretty robust way of making sure that camp is overall very, very manageable for those families. Another program to quickly mention that isn't relevant to you all just yet, but might even be next year, is our capstone program. When campers are 15 years old, we want them to start to focus on giving back. So far they've been receiving camperships. We want them to start to give back in their community. So our 15-year-old campers participate in a capstone program where during the school year they complete a service project that solve some issue in their community. So if you're on this call, your campers are not eligible yet, but that is a required program if they want to continue to be involved with 1,000 Summers for when they're a little bit older. And then you'll see that the Compass program is highlighted. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Before we do, I want to tell you about our fabulous associate camps. So we have 13 high-quality sleepaway summer camps all over the country. We originally started in Colorado, but as you can see, we have made it all the way to Washington, up to Maine. And most of our camps also provide opportunities for campers to go on trips outside of camp. So like we mentioned, some of them hike crazy big mountains. They go on canoeing excursions. They do long hiking, that sort of thing. So they have really cool programs that our campers do. And most of our campers attend terms that are about a month long, which is a pretty long time, especially if you're only 10 or 11, but it's a really magical way for campers to learn leadership, independence, appreciation for nature, and things like that. So last year we had 130 campers that went to camp. We're growing every year. We're getting new partnerships with new camps every couple of years. So it's really exciting to keep growing. So as part of our campership program, we ask all of our campers to attend what we call the Compass program. And you can see there's Jillian and I. We look about the same as we do today. This was back in the spring. Um, so like I mentioned, we are not just sending kids to camp, we are a youth development organization. So we really want to make sure that kids are adequately prepared for camp. So not just that they have, the things that they need for camp, but also that they have social and emotional skills. So that is why we created the Compass program, which all of your campers are required to attend in the spring. So in these sessions, we talk about what to expect at camp, how to handle feeling homesick or conflict with your peers, how to express your needs and advocate for yourself, how to try new things, how to overcome being nervous, all of these things that are going to be really relevant. And for our older campers, we also teach some life skills that can be helpful in professional endeavors in the future and in applying to college, etc. Um, Also, our final Compass session in the spring is actually for parents to join too, and they get a chance to meet with some of the counselors that will be at camp and just learn more about their specific camps. So this is a really important program to make sure that we're not just sending campers off without any help. We want to make sure that they are prepared. And we did get a lot of really amazing feedback from parents and campers that they felt so much more prepared after having these sessions. Um, so, like I said, you all are not actually required to attend these, but your campers are. So one thing we'll ask of you as volunteers is to make sure that campers know that these are coming up, make sure that the parents know how to log on, that sort of thing. Alrighty. So, where do you fit in? So, like I said, we have two different groups of people in this call today, but all of your jobs are to support campers. Um, we have the Campership Mentor, which has been around for many, many years. Campership mentors are often teachers, coaches, community leaders, um, nonprofit leaders who already know the camper and have been kind of pulled into our programs because you have a camper who wants to apply to camp and they need you to support. So that's a lot of you here in this call. The second role is the camp coach. So this is actually a new role this year. Camp coaches are assigned to a family, so they don't already know the camper or family, but they are assigned to a camper going to a specific camp, and they familiarize themselves with that camp, everything they need to know about that camp. Ideally, they may have attended that camp, and so they're able to offer really specific camp targeted support so that the families know exactly what to expect for their camp. And, they can call on their own experience, either maybe they sent their own kids to camp or they attended themselves. So these are our two different roles. A lot of your responsibilities are pretty similar, essentially making sure that campers are supported and that families are supported, but how you kind of got involved is one of the main differences. All right, so I want to just kind of ground us in why we are here. At A Thousand Summers, we believe in the power of camp. As I said, I attended for many years. There's nothing in my life that was more formative than attending summer camp. And I want to share this quote from a camper. She said, "Thank you for making this possible. You allowed me to be my best self, giving me forever friends and unforgettable memories. I feel that I can base my future on something that you opened up for me. You changed my life." From Cassidy. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Jillian.
Thanks, Anna. So all of this awesome opportunities that Anna just told you about sounds great. And you may be thinking, well, how do I fit in as a volunteer? We have a couple of requirements or requests that we make of you all as volunteers. The first one is that you complete a volunteer application. If you're a returning volunteer, you don't have to do anything. We'll just run your background check every year. The reason we have to do that is just as a youth development organization, we have to make sure from a legal perspective that all of the folks that we're working with are endorsed to work with youth. So that's the first step to volunteering. Additionally, we're asking that you all help your campership applicant through the process of applying for a campership. And we'll talk about that process in just a moment. Once they have received a campership, you'll get a little letter, and then it's also on you as a mentor or a coach to help families walk through the camp enrollment process. So that's separate from the ATS campership application process, which lets us know, hey, we're going to fund your camper. And then each of our 13 associate camps have their own enrollment process. And so it's a lot of paperwork, and we know that, but that's why we're asking you all as mentors and coaches to help families kind of wade through it a little bit so that their kiddo can have one of the best summers of their life. Additionally, as Anna mentioned, we hope that you will help, if required, prepare your family for any specialized equipment that they need, help them figure out what type of maybe hiking boots they need versus don't need. Those are the types of questions that we're hoping you can help your camper with, and we will, as A Thousand Summers, provide lots of guidance as to sorting through that information. Help make sure that your campers can attend the Compass program, which Anna just told you about. And then when campers come back from camp after the end of summer, there are some additional requirements that we ask of them. And we're really hoping that you, as another trusted adult in their life, can be another reminder or another sounding board to help them through some of that process. So our timeline, we're here at the end of October for our returning campers. So if you are usually a second year mentor, your folks might fit into this category. Anyone who was supported by A Thousand Summers last year is required to complete another application this year, and it's due on November 1st. So that's this Saturday. All of this is to say, if you have a returning camper and they have not gotten started on their application, now would be a really good time to reach out to your camper family and ask them to do that. If your camper has never been to camp through A Thousand Summers, their applications are due on December 1st. And that both of those for returning campers and new campers require you as a volunteer to complete a recommendation on their behalf. So we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of those recommendations, but do your best to provide insights so that the review committee can make a great judgment on the applicant. Once an applicant is accepted, as I mentioned, the family will receive a campership agreement letter. They'll sign it, and then they know that they're good to go. Um, an additional, once we hit 2026, they will be assigned a camp, and they should work to complete their camp registration, which I mentioned, through January and February. In March and May, you should work to get your camper ready for camp, including that equipment, making sure that they have a plan to get to camp. And all of our camp enrollment paperwork is due on May 1st. So that's important to note. In summer, your kiddo goes to camp, which is lovely. And then when they come back, those requirements that I mentioned are a couple of things. The parent and the camper has to do a survey, and you as a mentor also have to do a survey. The last piece that we require is that your camper hand writes some thank you notes to our donors, which make all of this possible. So that's a little bit about what the responsibilities look like throughout the course of the year. We usually tell mentors and coaches that this takes approximately 2 hours a month, but as you can see based on this timeline, sometimes things are busier than others, so you might have to do different check-ins at different times. Additionally, this looks like a lot of information, but afterwards, Anna and I are going to send out a volunteer calendar that you can subscribe to, which has all of these due dates on it, and it will send you reminders. If you are feeling like you're a little bit behind, please reach out to Anna and I. We have a lot of supports to make sure that both you have what you need so that your camper has what they need. Additionally, just make sure that throughout the year, as we approach all of these different deadlines, you're checking your email, you're being responsive, because your involvement in this process is critical to your camper's success. Any questions on the timeline before we move on to the next section? Okay, Annie, you can go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, there will be a calendar that you can subscribe to. We will also send out monthly emails that talk about all of the different things that you need to do during the different sections. If you didn't take a picture of that timeline from before, don't worry. We will chunk it out and list all the deadlines. There can be a lot to keep track of. But please make sure that you are reading those emails thoroughly. That's going to be the primary way that we're communicating. But if you need additional support, as I said, Anna and I are here. That's our job to make sure that you are supported, and that any of your specific questions can get answered. Usually, the role of the mentor and the coach is to save Anna and I from having to respond to up to like 260 people who are asking questions about the campership application, or different aspects of the campership program. So that's why reading those emails really thoroughly will help give you the information that you need so you can pass that on to families, which helps us do what we do in a really instrumental way. So we are appreciative of your time. Any other questions before we head on to the next section?
To get into a couple quick logistics about the volunteer handbook. So you all have probably heard from me and a million emails from Blackbaud saying, make sure you sign these two forms. So most of you have already signed the volunteer handbook. If you've done that, you're awesome. If you haven't, you might need help logging in. Let me know. But I want to just quickly chat about a couple really important things that are in the volunteer handbook because they're just super important for the safety of our campers. So we have some child protection information that was also in the handbook, but I just want to reiterate them. The first is do not share any photos. Sorry, I misread it. Do not share or post any information about your campers. So even if you're having an awesome time, do not post on Facebook like I'm doing this great project with my kid. What? Nope, we don't share that publicly at all. Do not take any photos or videos of the camper. We have the ability to take photos of the campers at camp if they sign a photo release, but otherwise, that's not something that you all are able to do unless you're with, of course, a partner organization that already does that. Um, in very limited cases, you will be able to drive a camper. If you do need to drive a camper to camp, that is something that you would need approval from us and the parents, obviously, to make sure that that is okay. This is an important one. All contact with campers must be conducted with at least one parent or guardian or a Thousand Summer staff present. So, what that looks like is that even in a virtual setting like a Zoom meeting or a phone call, the parents or guardians should be in the room. They should be, they don't have to be like sitting there on the call if you want to just talk with the camper, but they should be present in that room so that it's never just one-on-one. And also, if you are texting your camper, it should be in a group text with the camper's parents or guardians. If you need to, you can also add Jillian and I, basically just so that we're able to monitor all of that conversation. It's not because we don't trust you, it is just from a legal standpoint. We want to be extra, extra careful because, of course, these are all minors. In the very unlikely scenario that you hear about any suspected abuse from maybe family members, any suicidal ideation from campers, any talk of harm of self or others, any kind of anxieties that you're worried about with a camper, feel free to contact us right away. Even if you think, oh, maybe it's not a big deal, just keep us in the loop. These are things that we want to know about for the safety of our campers and also to make sure that they will be okay at camp. Right. So if mental health challenges are coming up with that camper, that doesn't disqualify them from going to camp. It's just something that we would need to be aware of to make sure that the camp is able to adequately support them. I'm also going to have Jillian send a list of resources in the chat. So these are some things that you all are welcome to take a look at, just so that you, especially if you haven't worked with kids directly before, just so that you're able to identify what abuse might look like and kind of what those signs are, so that if you do notice that, maybe on a phone call with your camper, that you feel prepared to recognize that. Um, yeah, and finally, if you are missing any forms, keep an eye out for an email from me and also from Blackbaud. These two forms are really important to make sure that you understand everything that is required of you as a volunteer, and that needs to be done as soon as possible. Alrighty. All right, so Jillian is going to share some common tips and tricks, and then again, I'm going to have some wisdom from returners if you all are feeling bold.
Yep, my tips and tricks are short. Our returns have most of the wisdom, but I just wanted to say that whether it's your first time volunteering with us, and you're just learning about what A Thousand Summers is, or you're a veteran, we are grateful that you're here and you're welcome here. You will figure out all the tips and tricks along the way, and Anna and I are happy to help you with that process. So I think with that, I'd like to open it up to in particular, any of our returning mentors, but if not, anyone who has tips and tricks on either like how to communicate with families, if they're being maybe a little bit less than responsive, or how to help, calm fears, anything like that, that people have top advice they want to share.
I have a question, even
Sure.
though I'm a returning. Um, One thing I get uh all the time, even if like the parents are on board 95%, one thing I get from the parents and the campers is the fear of flying alone.
Sure.
How do you guys deal with that?
Great question. So the first premise is that not all of our campers fly. A lot of them do, but some of them are able to drive to camp. Just depends on which camp they go to and where they live. If a camper qualifies for our full support program and they are under the age of the airline's requirements, they'll fly as what's called an unaccompanied minor, which means that the parent can walk them through security to the gate, wait with them until they're released into the custody of a flight attendant who will fly with them across, wherever they're going, and then release them only into the care of a camp staff professional who will also be on the other that side of security at their arrival airport. So that process is all covered by A Thousand Summers. It's very safe, and it's something that we work really hard with our families who fall in that bucket to handle. The if your camper is flying alone and they're older than the required age, so it's usually like 12 or 13, we will usually try and make sure that there's a chaperone or somebody involved. So we take care of a lot of that. Um, those logistics, but I understand that it's a big fear. The other piece that we do is a lot of education around flying. We'll provide a resource about how to navigate the airport, what to pack, when to show up for your flight, all of that good stuff are things that we go over with the camper and their family. Does that answer your question, Gretchen?
Yeah, that's quite good. The biggest one probably being able to walk their kids to the gate,
Yeah.
it probably is just that goodbye thing that they really, really need. But yeah, I appreciate you guys with all the helpful with, because let's face it, well, none of my campers have ever flown, so that's helpful.
Just a tip that I ended up using for getting recommendations years ago. Um, One of the teachers submitted and then I lost it, and I found it later, and it was a very kind of cursory recommendation, but I needed to get it really quickly, so I just called the teacher because I didn't know where I'd lost it, and and I was able just to interview the teacher for the recommendation, because sometimes it's hard to get the teacher recommendations on time. And it was a much better recommendation than the teacher had done themselves. They had just said, she's great. And when I asked, I said, how great is she? And he goes, well, probably the best student I've had. I said, how long have you been teaching? He's like, 20 years. I said, well, that would be a good thing to say. So you can elicit more sometimes from these people who don't understand the program, and then be able to give you guys a better view, because this was a kid I didn't know. I was working with kind of long distance, and it was shocking when I actually called the teacher to write the rec. And I think I would do that again to get the recs, because it's not about getting them to write it. It's about getting the information. So
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that tip.
Two related tips and tricks. One, in terms of the Campership application, many times I've gotten stuck with the family, not because of the family, but because we didn't know how to fill out something, or we looked at the application online and there wasn't something that, fit with what we thought it should be. And guess what? I would email or call Jillian or Anna, and they would get back to me right away, and then we would be able to move on with the process and go beyond that. And the other one is similar when you get to the camp enrollment process. That's obviously specific to the camp. And please call your camp coach. Or when I've gotten stuck with a particular item from the camp that I'm sending my camper to, I call the camp. And they get back to us, maybe not quite as quickly because they've got a lot of things to do out there to prepare and so forth. But I get my answer to my question, and then we move on with the application, because I, as a mentor, want to make sure that the things that I submit on behalf of the family or with the family are appropriate.
Thanks, Craig. Yeah, I think that underscores a theme that is very important for you all as volunteers, which is that another key role is just to be an advocate. The folks here at A Thousand Summers and the folks at the camps that we work with want to support your kiddo, and sometimes we don't know when something's not working or something's wrong. So please keep us in the loop. I think we have time for one more top tip if anyone has one. Otherwise, Anna and I will stick around after for questions if you have an individual case you want to discuss.
I'll just say really quick, I guess I didn't realize that some people are trying to do this like over the phone or Zoom with their campers. And it makes sense that that might be what you got to do. But for me and my kids, what has worked the best is just, I guess, like, whenever something's kind of coming up on being due. So like every couple months, like a month or every couple months, I just go over to their house and we sit down and we have some snacks, and I bring my computer and they have their shared computer, and we just do it together. And that, I think, actually saves me a lot of time and effort of like trying to help these kids navigate the online forms and stuff. So, and it's fun, especially when they get home, they can tell you stories.
Definitely, yeah. And thanks for pointing that out that we try to do matches in the same geographic location. It doesn't always work out that way, and that's okay. So if you can meet with your camper, definitely do. But if not, the program is designed so that you can hopefully still work with them. Great. Thank you all so much for coming. Anna, any other closing words?
Just really grateful for you all. I think we've made it clear that we could not do this without you. We have a ton of campers and families, and they all need individual support. So that's where you all come in. And yeah, just be in touch. If anything is confusing or if doesn't feel like it's working the way you want it to, please reach out to us. We are always available to help you all out.